Hello, my name is Maria Bezubova and you're at my channel Fertilizers Jazz. Here we talk about events, trends, technologies in the world of fertilizers and agriculture. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and let's jazz! As you know, every quarter I invite prominent industry experts to discuss separate segments of fertilizers industry. And today I'm very glad to host again a great guest, Sylvia Traganida, Senior Ammonia Editor at ICIS, in order to discuss ammonia segment and its development in Q1 2025. I'm happy to welcome you, Sylvia, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Hello, Maria. Hello, everyone who's listening. Thank you for having me.
It is a great tradition that we will support in 2025 as well, I hope, meeting here every quarter and discuss situation in the ammonia market and your expectations for the next quarter. We are meeting now just before the end of 2024. So my first question to you is, what was your key takeout or key news, or if you want, event in 2024 that shaped the market landscape for you and will influence situation for the 2025, or at least for the first quarter?
Of course, as you know, I cannot forecast too long term, so I will stick to quarter Q1. So the main thing that happened this year and is also going to affect next year is natural gas. So that was one of the main things. So natural gas, as we know, is a raw material for ammonia, and it has affected producers in various countries. So, for instance, in Europe, we have seen through the year natural gas prices rising. We have seen natural gas issues in Trinidad, more than normal. We have seen natural gas curtailments in Iran, which is a big, of course, ammonia producing country and urea producing country. So that's one thing that we are still monitoring, also, with the winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's definitely going to affect, well, I think every year is going to affect the ammonia market. The other thing that we're looking at, and of course it's going to affect, it has affected this year and will also affect 2025, like the aftermath of, this year, is geopolitics. So this year we had a few big countries have significant elections. So of course, in the grand scheme of things, that is going to affect policies in terms of fertilizers, support to the farmers. It's going to affect energy policies, looking into the energy transition as well. But apart from that, of course, we had other geopolitical events. So, of course, still the war in Ukraine, issues in the Middle East that have affected, apart from, of course, the human cost, have also affected logistics, the sentiment of the market, freight costs, supply, routes. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that have affected this year. The ammonia market, and will continue to affect it for years to come, at least next year, because these things don't end in seconds.
Yes, indeed, fully agree. And coming back to the gas situation in the gas market that you mentioned, indeed we are in front of a significant change, specifically for European producers, because as of January 1, like 99%, perhaps we will see that the transit via Ukraine will fully stop. Of course, Europe is prepared, but still, I think it will affect significantly the situation. So, how do you think, in this respect, what will be the change for those who produce ammonia and for those guys who can either produce or import ammonia? So, what will this situation change somehow this balance for the European producers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, every disruption in the market is affecting the supply and demand scenarios. So especially in Europe, where we have seen, natural gas prices, going up recently, we have seen demand from the urea and nitrates markets not being very strong. So of course that has affected ammonia. The ammonia market. We have seen fertilizer production rates being low in Europe. So definitely, I mean, any new event, any disruption, is affecting the market, especially with natural gas, which is so important for the ammonia market. And especially at a time when, as we get more towards spring in the northern hemisphere, we will need more fertilizers. Maybe we will see the return of, Russia as an exporter of ammonia. Um, so it's another factor that, we didn't really need, in a market that, has been going through a lot, recently. But yeah, of course, I'm sure the market will be able to absorb it and yeah, and find a way to solve it.
Yeah, hopefully it will be painless, as painless as possible. So now I propose that we look a bit back and see what we were discussing 3 months ago. Actually, and look at those, forecasts and those discussions that we had, and see what actually happened, and also what what we can take out from there to move forward. In terms of supply, you expected 3 months ago that there will be certain tightening in the Middle East and Asia. While for the markets west of Suez, you foresaw no issues with supply. Let's say that the supply will be easy. And indeed, supply was very limited, especially in the Middle East due to Ma'aden stoppage. So how do you see the situation with supply to develop during the next quarter?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have improved a little bit. So, Madden has, returned to full production. Of course, there's always issues in Algeria. At the moment, we're hearing that there's only one plant running at Fertial. We have, Egypt and Abu Qir, the producer there. They're more focused on, urea. So, so supply from the Middle East at the moment seems to be sorry, tight, but comfortable because the flip side is that there's not much demand to meet this supply. So in terms of supply for the first quarter, unless there's some major, unscheduled turnaround, I see it comfortable. Of course, that will all depend on demand. It will depend on the supply from other regions. So, for instance, from the Americas or from Trinidad, the supply from Iran, if we're talking, about supply to Turkey or to India. And yeah, more eastwards, the Indonesian, Malaysian, usual suppliers. So I think for Q1, it seems comfortable, but I'm sure we will talk about the expected production that will come on stream, hopefully in Q1 globally.
Mhm. Yeah, by the way, what are the news here? So do you hear any new capacities coming on stream?
Yeah, I am afraid I will repeat myself. So we're still waiting for the production from Gulf Coast Ammonia in the US to come on stream. We've been waiting for it for a long time. And then the other big production that's expected to come on stream or to start, coming into the market would be ammonia from Russia through the Taman transshipment hub.
That we
So we're still
also discussed for past 6 months, I believe, right?
exactly. So we're still waiting. So I'm hoping that, next time we speak, I'm hoping that, these two will be online and we won't have to talk about them. Um, so yeah, so these two theoretically are expected to come on stream in Q1. So we will see how the market will absorb these new tons, and where they will go. I mean, tons from Taman will probably go. This is just a guess, but will probably go to Turkey, or close by Europe. And yeah, the U.S. tons. Some of them are earmarked for Morocco, and the rest, I'm guessing, probably Europe, or our side of the world. So yeah, let's see.
Yes, let's see. So let's move to demand situation now. Last time we discussed that during Q4 there will be significant demand emerging in India, mostly for phosphates production. And also you expected some demand to start emerging from Europe because of preparation to spring season. And indeed, we saw that India was very active in terms of purchasing in past 3 months, especially because direct phosphate imports continued to be a loss. That's why producers of DAP in India tried to produce as much as possible. So how do you evaluate the pace of India purchasing? Was it more or less active than you expected? And how do you think it will evolve in Q1?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to say that, these predictions came true. So India, did buy a lot of ammonia, both spot and contract, because of course they needed in Q4 to produce fertilizers, and phosphates. Um, there were some issues, with raw material like phosphoric acid, coming from Jordan. There were some delays because of the Red Sea situation, but so there were some delays in purchasing ammonia, but they've done well, also because they know that they need to produce phosphates domestically, for the plants, but also um, with phosphates imports, because of course India relies on phosphates imports and domestic production. Phosphates imports have been lower from China with all the bans that they had. So, of course, even if the raw materials, like ammonia and phosphoric acid and sulfur are high, they still need to produce phosphates domestically. So they still need ammonia. So that came true. And now we're at the end of December, so it's already, too late for India to buy any more ammonia or any more phosphates. So, and the first quarter is usually the quiet one for India in terms of purchasing. So India, we're expecting to slow down a little bit. And yeah, in terms of Europe, well, I mean, the whole situation depended on natural gas prices. I mean, we have seen purchases in the fourth quarter of ammonia. We have seen prices go up a little bit for ammonia, but that was only because of tight availability coming into Europe. So, of course, that pushed prices up. I'm sure we'll see more demand coming out of Europe. The more the urea and nitrates markets, pick up in the continent. And yeah, we're expecting Q1 to be busy for Europe. And let's see what happens with, natural gas prices, with demand, what's going to happen with the, Taman hub. So yeah, definitely Q1 is a time to look into Europe as well.
I see. Thank you. And for Europe, there is also another question. So the current gas price, we have around $14 per MMBTU, or something around that, which is very high if we compare it to any other, benchmarks globally. And we know that with this price, European producers, they have a loss on not only on urea production, but also starting to have a loss unfortunately, at nitrates production. So all this situation might bring us to less demand in general in Europe, because from one side, farmers are not able to purchase at such high prices in general. So the affordability ratio is really very, very bad at the moment. From the other hand, producers will be pushed to stop production. So in this respect, my question would be, what is this, point when, as per your experience or maybe your expectation? Where is this point when it doesn't make sense for European producer to produce based on the gas? However, it's still possible to purchase ammonia. So where are we in this ratio now?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. We have heard from a few European producers uh, basically complaints about, how high, the natural gas prices are and how the margins are, not favorable. So there's a lot of, disgruntled people in the market in Europe. In terms of ammonia and fertilizer, consumption, I would say we have seen, urea consumption, but we have also seen people turning to, nitrates or replacing, urea with nitrates, just because sometimes they're a bit, more cheap. It's people are aware of these issues and of these difficulties. It's in front of their minds. It will be interesting to see how the situation goes in the spring in Europe. Now, in terms of ammonia, I mean, we are aware of a few, handful of producers in Europe that are either keeping their production rates low, both fertilizers and nitrates and ammonia, or just stopping production. And some of them have come out and said, we're doing this because of the natural gas prices that are very high. So it's definitely a bad time for producers in Europe, and we have seen that, and we see that in some of these producers' financial results. You're seeing losses, you're seeing people worried. Of course, their outlook needs to be optimistic, but yeah, they also need to be realistic in this market. So I guess they have to hang on tight and yeah, just ride the storm and yeah, wait for the spring when hopefully natural gas prices will lower.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. You already touched a bit on the US. So US will have some new capacities coming on stream, first of all. And second, US is approaching its own domestic application season. So how do you foresee the situation in terms of demand evolving there?
Yeah, I mean, the US, like every country, was also dependent on weather. So far, the weather conditions did not help application for autumn, even though we are in December. But lately, in the past week or so, the conditions have become better. So we're seeing some domestic demand for autumn application. We're also seeing or hearing some murmurs of some producers coming up with fill prices, so we're keeping an eye on that. And yeah, I think the main thing that will be the talking point in the US will also be availability, because of course they had a hurricane season that was really bad, that affected fertilizer production, ammonia production. Also, we went through a time in June, July of even lower cuts in natural gas in Trinidad, so there was less production there and less exports, of course, to the US. So I think demand is picking up in the US. Ammonia production seems to have come back to normal. So yeah, I think the US will be okay for the time being. So let's see.
Let's see. Yeah. And to finalize the question of the demand, last time when we met, you mentioned that industrial demand was really discouraging in Q3, and you expect it to be still slow and let's say sluggish in Q4. Did it happen like that? And what do you foresee in terms of Q1? Will it support the global demand or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, of course, I forgot to mention this industrial demand when I was talking about what happened this year. because that was the industrial demand, from the acrylonitrile and caprolactam, sectors, was a big blow to the market this year, especially in Asia. We did not see much demand, so of course that had put a big strain on the ammonia market. And we're still seeing a lot of maintenance for acrylonitrile and caprolactam producers in Asia. We're seeing producers keeping their operating rates low. So personally, I try to be optimistic, but I think the industrial demand in Asia is not going to improve in Q1. It's not looking good, and ammonia demand will follow suit, and we're seeing limited ammonia demand in Asia. Of course, that will also depend on one big factor, which is China. So we need to see how much China is going to import ammonia. Of course, sometimes, they also export ammonia, but they're mainly an importer. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on China, of course, for all products. But yeah, that's definitely going to be, one of the big players in 2025 in Asia and globally.
Yeah, indeed. China is always an elephant in the room, for any fertilizer, and especially with the changes with its export policies recently. So indeed, we will need to have a very, very, focused look at what they are going to do in 2025.
Yeah, exactly. One other topic that is definitely going to be very significant in 2025 and years to come for sure is going to be the energy transition. So we're looking at decarbonization. Of course, we're getting closer to 2026 when the CBAM regulation in Europe is going to come into full effect. So we are looking into that. We are assessing carbon adjusted prices in our report, and also we're looking at how Asia is going to deal with the energy transition. So we're looking into Japan, Korea, Singapore. They're big countries that are looking into sustainability. They're looking into the clean energy. They're looking into the use of ammonia as a bunker fuel. We're also looking at blue and green ammonia, of course, and the big significant role that this is going to play in the years to come. We're also looking at price assessments for blue and green ammonia. And yeah, it's definitely a very exciting space to look at and to keep an eye on, because it's not going to go away. So the energy transition is here to stay, and yeah, from ICIS we're looking into it.
From what we discussed already regarding European producers, I really hope that 2026 will bring a bit of relief to them, with CBAM actually kicking, let's say, off with levies. So let's see how it will move forward. I want to thank you very much, Sylvia, for this insightful discussion as always. And also would like to thank you that you supported Fertilizer Jazz in this 2024 since the very beginning of it, since the moment it was born. And I hope that your great insights will continue guiding channel viewers in 2025 and onwards. So, because we meet before the holidays, I wish you and your family a lot of joy and happiness in the coming year. And of course, ICIS, a lot of good business, good clients, and nice projects.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I hope let's see if my predictions come true in the new year. And thank you to all our listeners. And I wish everyone who's celebrating a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and all the best for 2025.
Thank you for watching. As usually, I will leave all credentials of Sylvia and ICIS in the comments. Please let me know in the comments which other questions related to development of ammonia market in Q1 we haven't covered with Sylvia, and I will be glad to do so next time when we meet in a quarterly discussion. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and see you soon.